Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different and I wanted to review some books that are of a specific genre. So today I am reviewing 5 popular graphic novels that I have read in the last week or so. So I recently realized that I hadn't read any graphic novels at all this year. I read a few last year, but for whatever reason, I just haven't really been checking out books from my library, and because of that, I just haven't been reading graphic novels in general. And there's no real particular reason for that. I just like to check out graphic novels from my library as opposed to spend money on them myself. So what I think I'm gonna do is work my way from the graphic novel that I liked the least to the one that I liked the most. And the first one I'm gonna review is Fun Home, and this is by Alison Bechdel. And this is essentially an adult graphic novel that is a memoir of Alison Bechdel's life. And it basically chronicles her life, especially with her kind of weird relationship with her father, and how her and her siblings worked in the Fun Home, which is a funeral home that her parents ran. And I did expect a lot out of this book. For one thing, this is the basis of a Broadway musical called Fun Home. I'll put the poster over here. And for whatever reason, I've actually never listened to the music for it, but it is a very popular musical, and I think it won Best Musical the year that it premiered. So for that reason, I was definitely interested in it. But also, this is a graphic novel that so many people love. Unfortunately, I did not like this, and it was to the point where I actually DNF'd this, which means I didn't finish it. I actually only got to page 57 before I put the book down, which is kind of sad, but I do have my reasons for that. For one thing, I was just pretty bored reading this. I also found that Bechdel's vocabulary and writing style just wasn't the easiest for me to read, and I assumed that it being a graphic novel that I would fly through this, and I was really trudging through it. It was taking a lot of effort for me to even read the 57 pages that I did. And something that I always ask myself when I'm reading any book is, 1, do I care about the characters at all? And 2, do I care about how these characters end up, or do I care about the ending at all? And what I realized while reading this is that I definitely didn't care about any of the characters, and I really just didn't care about how they would end up. And so for those reasons, I decided to put this down. I do, however, think you would enjoy this if you are someone who loves to read a lot of adult literature. I do like to read some adult novels here and there, but I definitely do like to read more YA. I think you would like this if you love reading adult literature, but you are interested in graphic novels. I think that something like this would be the perfect graphic novel for you to start with. But unfortunately, this book just wasn't for me, so I had to DNF it. So now to get to the graphic novels that I actually finished and really enjoyed. So the first one is The Prince and the Dressmaker. This is by Jen Wong. So I was definitely interested in this graphic novel because a lot of the people that I follow on BookTube really enjoy this, but I thought it was just going to be a fluffy romance between a prince and a dressmaker, and it ended up being so much more than that. So the story follows Prince Sebastian and Francis, and Prince Sebastian is a very normal, average person by day, but by night he becomes Lady Crystalia, and he wears dresses and is very glamorous and goes to parties and things like that. And he basically discovers Frances because she designs and makes this crazy dress for another woman in their town, and so Sebastian hires her as his dressmaker. I thought this was so cute. For one thing, I loved the art style. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just so cute and so distinctive, and I think works perfectly for these characters and for the story. And I loved that this overall just sent a message not only of tolerance of those who are drag queens or cross-dress, but also just acceptance. And I think it was just so powerful in that way. And I really don't have much more to say except that it's absolutely adorable, and if the plot interests you at all, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And I gave this one 4 stars. This was overall so adorable, especially the aspects that had to do with the bakery and Ari and Hector baking together. It was just so, so cute. I also really love the art style for this. because everything is turquoise slash blue toned, which matches the cover. I just thought that that was really cool and unique. I also adored that, you know, this centers around Ari and Hector's relationship. At the end of the book, Ari and Hector end up being in a relationship for real, and I just loved that Ari's family didn't react at all to that. Like, they didn't really care that Ari is gay and he is in a relationship with another boy. You know, they just immediately accepted him and Hector being together, as well as accepting Hector into their family, and I just thought that it was just so cute and wholesome. And yeah, I definitely recommend this if you are looking for a really cute, wholesome male-male romance. I'm also really interested to see if these two authors end up collaborating again on a graphic novel, because I really think that they work really well together. So the next graphic novel I want to talk about is one that has been so hyped just in the book community, not necessarily BookTube, and it was one that I was probably the most excited to read, and that is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. So this is actually a graphic novel that is based off of a webcomic series that was written by Noelle Stevenson herself. And so this graphic novel basically is about this girl Nimona who is a shapeshifter. She meets this villain named Lord Blackheart, and basically they end up teaming up so that Blackheart will eventually beat his arch nemesis, who is named Sir Goldenloin. So Sir Goldenloin, which is a really funny name, he works for the Institution of Law Enforcement and Heroics. And basically throughout this book, we see that the institution may not be as good as people think it is. I overall really enjoyed this book. From the very first page, it was very humorous, but it also had a lot of heart. And I just loved the overall plot of, even though Blackheart is believed to be this terrible villain, he's actually a really cool guy. And I love seeing the dynamic between him and Nimona. That was definitely the funniest part of this book. The art style of this is definitely really unique, and it definitely gives me like webcomic vibes. But I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I can't recommend it enough. It was just so much fun. It was everything that I expected it to be, but also just so much more. Okay, so I have one more graphic novel to talk about in this review. So I ended up giving this graphic novel 5 stars, which is very surprising because of the 5 graphic novels that I took out from the library, this was the one that I probably expected to like the least. And that is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. So this is essentially an anthology of, I think, 5 short stories that are really creepy and give me very strong Edgar Allan Poe vibes. For one thing, I just thought that the art style was so perfect to help convey the creepiness and kind of the horror aspects of these stories. I overall just really loved how the endings of each of these stories was really interesting and surprising and kind of cliffhangery. I just thought it was like the perfect way to end each of these stories. At the end of the day, this anthology just left such an impression on me, and I really want to check out more of Emily Carroll's stories. She does have her own website. I think it's called mcarroll.com, and I'll put that right here, where she has more of her like creepy short stories on there that I don't think are published in other books. So I definitely recommend checking those out, but I would also highly recommend that you guys check this out of your library, because it was just like the perfect graphic novel to read during the month of October. Okay, technology is not on my side today, so I think I'm gonna wrap up this video pretty quick. But that's going to be it for the 5 graphic novels that I read in the past week or so. But I did want to give you guys a couple of quick recommendations for graphic novels that I read last year before I started this BookTube channel. So the first one is El Dafoe by Cece Bell. This is essentially a memoir about Belle and how she became deaf at the age of 4 due to an illness of some kind, and she creates this alter ego El Dafoe because she gets this hearing aid, and because she has this device that gives her super hearing, she thinks of herself as a superhero, and this was just super adorable. I gave it 5 stars. I might have to reread this at some point because that's how much I loved it. And then the other one that I really loved that I read last year is called Sheets by Brenna Thummer, and this is about a girl named Marjorie who is very much bogged down by life. She essentially runs the laundromat that her family owns, but her dad is very depressed and stays in his room all the time, so she ends up being the one who really runs the laundromat. And she meets this ghost named Wendell, and the plot goes on from there. This was also super adorable and also made me feel so many different emotions. I remember pretty much crying while reading this, and I also gave this 5 stars. I highly recommend it. I think there's a sequel actually coming out called Delicates, if I'm not mistaken, so I will definitely have to check that out as well. That is going to be it for this video. I hope you you guys enjoyed, and I hope you would consider subscribing. Don't forget to push that notification bell button below so that you will be notified every time I upload, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!